Naboth's vineyard, prime example of lust. The dictionary definition of lust is intense or unrestrained sexual craving or an overwhelming desire or craving. Lust is essentially to crave something, usually associated with worldly desires of sexual intent or material possessions. Lust has as its focus gratifying oneself, which often leads to toxic actions to fulfill one's desires without consideration of the consequences. Lust springs forth from selfishness and greed. For everything in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life comes not from the Father, but from the world. 1 John 2:10. Naboth's vineyard is a prime example of this verse. King Ahab saw Naboth's vineyard, probably could see it from his palace window. So he looked it daily, desired it daily, tried to buy it, the lust of the eyes. And when King Ahab was told no by Naboth, the king went home with his tail between his legs like a whipped dog, climbed into his bed and pouted because he didn't get what he wanted. And in King Ahab's world lived his wife, Jezebel. Yes, this is the Jezebel you have heard about before in biblical times. Evil, conniving, power-driven, so much evil filling up this woman's queenship. She devised a plan of getting the vineyard for the king, told the king about it, and put the plan into immediate action. Now we will hear what happened to Naboth and his vineyard. In future videos, we will share more facts about King Ahab and Jezebel, and even about Naboth's sons. 1 Kings 21, 1-16. Sometime later, there was an incident involving a vineyard belonging to Naboth the Jezreelite. The vineyard was in Jezreel, close to the palace of Ahab, king of Samaria. Ahab said to Naboth, "Let me have your vineyard to use for a vegetable garden, since it is close to my palace. In exchange, I will give you a better vineyard, or, if you prefer, I will pay you whatever it is worth." But Naboth replied, "The Lord forbid that I should give you the inheritance of my ancestors." Some theorize that Naboth was also fearful of disobeying the Mosaic law, which forbade the permanent selling of land. So Ahab went home, sullen and angry, because Naboth the Jezreelite had said, "I will not give you the inheritance of my ancestors." He lay on his bed sulking and refused to eat. His wife Jezebel came in and asked him, "Why are you so sullen? Why won't you eat?" He answered her, "Because I said to Naboth the Jezreelite, 'Sell me your vineyard, or if you prefer, I will give you another vineyard in its place.' But he said, 'I will not give you my vineyard.'" Jezebel, his wife, said, "Is this how you act as king over Israel? Get up and eat, cheer up. I'll get you the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite." So she wrote letters in Ahab's name, placed his seal on them, and sent them to the elders and nobles who lived in Naboth's city with him. Jezebel resolved the issue, too, by writing a letter under Ahab's name to the elders and nobles of Jezreel. In the letter, the elders and nobles were instructed to organize a religious fast and exalt Naboth, and bring forth 2 witnesses to falsely accuse Naboth of cursing God and the king. Afterwards, they were to stone Naboth to death outside the city. Commentators observe that these instructions deliberately adhered to the biblical guidelines of criminal justice so that the public would not suspect foul play. That said, Jezebel explicitly calls the 2 witnesses sons of Belial, which may be descriptive of their willingness to do anything to get paid. Proclaim a day of fasting and seat Naboth in a prominent place among the people, but seat 2 scoundrels opposite him and have them bring charges that he has cursed both God and the king. Then take him out and stone him to death. So the elders and nobles who lived in Naboth's city did as Jezebel directed in the letters she had written to them. They proclaimed a fast and seated Naboth in a prominent place among the people. Then 2 scoundrels came and sat opposite him and brought charges against Naboth before the people, saying, "Naboth has cursed both God and the king." So they took him outside the city and stoned him to death. Then they sent word to Jezebel, "Naboth has been stoned to death." As soon as Jezebel heard that Naboth had been stoned to death, she said to Ahab, "Get up and take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite that he refused to sell you. He is no longer alive, but dead." When Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, he got up and went down to take possession of Naboth's vineyard. Then the word of the Lord came to Elijah the Tishbite, "Go down to meet Ahab king of Israel, who rules in Samaria. He is now in Naboth's vineyard, where he has gone to take possession of it. Say to him, 'This is what the Lord says. Have you not murdered a man and seized his property?' Then say to him, 'This is what the Lord says. In the place where dogs licked up Naboth's blood, Dogs will lick up your blood. Yes, yours." Ahab said to Elijah, "So you have found me, my enemy." "I have found you," he answered, "because you have sold yourself to do evil in the eyes of the Lord." He says, "I'm going to bring disaster on you. I will wipe out your descendants and cut off from Ahab every last male in Israel, slave or free. I will make your house like that of Jeroboam son of Nebat and that of Baasha son of Ahijah, because you have aroused my anger and have caused Israel to sin." And also concerning Jezebel, the Lord says, "Dogs will devour Jezebel by the wall of Jezreel. Dogs will eat those belonging to Ahab who die in the sea." There was never anyone like Ahab, who sold himself to do evil in the eyes of the Lord, urged on by Jezebel his wife. He behaved in the vilest manner by going after idols like the Amorites the Lord drove out before Israel. When Ahab heard these words, he tore his clothes, put on sackcloth, and fasted. He lay in sackcloth and went around meekly. Then the word of the Lord came to Elijah the Tishbite. "Have you noticed how Ahab has humbled himself before me? Because he has humbled himself, I will not bring this disaster in his day, but I will bring it on his house in the days of his son." End of 1 Kings 21, verse 1-16. The conspiracy succeeded, with Naboth's corpse being licked by stray dogs. More interesting investigations show that Emil G. Hirsch points out that Naboth's sons perished with their father, probably being killed soon afterward by order of Jezebel, in order that they might not claim the vineyard as their inheritance. The executions also had precedent in the execution of Achan's family, as recorded in the book of Joshua, which Jezebel was most likely inspired by. After Naboth and his sons were executed, Jezebel told Ahab that he could possess the vineyard. Johannes Paterson said that, "The story teaches us that the king is bound to respect the proprietary rights of families." According to rabbinic literature, Naboth's soul was the lying spirit that was permitted to deceive Ahab to his death. Naboth's death was further avenged after Jehu fatally shot Ahab's son Jehoram in the back with an arrow and threw his body in Naboth's former vineyard. Jezebel met a similar fate after she was thrown off a building, with her corpse devoured by dogs. According to the Bible, all of this was prophesied by prophet Elijah, who fiercely condemned Naboth's execution. Looking farther, we find that archaeological exploration conducted by the University of Haifa and the University of Evansville discovered an ancient winery in the vicinity of an Iron Age 2B, 900 to 700 BC, military enclosure at the foot of Tel Jezreel. While not definitely identifying the site as the location for the story of Naboth, archaeologist Dr. Norma Franklin of the University of Haifa said that the vineyard appears to have been established sometime prior to 300 BCE, which would not be inconsistent with the time frame for Naboth. Based on the dates of Ahab's death, which occurred 3 years after Naboth's death, it is presumed that Naboth died on 856 to 855 BC. More to come about these individuals in this biblical account.